What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. Hopefully, you all had a fantastic weekend and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here. On here on your radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM, also available online at sportstalk1051.com. You got your smart devices, you got your app, the Sports Talk app. Download it, take it on the go. Video streams all up and rolling. Facebook, YouTube, in just a little bit. It'll be up on Instagram over there too. But yeah, appreciate you making us a part of your starts on this Monday morning of July 22nd. Let's go camping. First day of training camp for the Green and Golds beginning today too. What do we got on a good old game plan? We're going to hit that up, but Packers spending a little bit of money yesterday before camp opens up. No, they did not give Jordan Love his long-awaited extension that we're all expecting to happen at some point in time here soon. But they got Kenny Clark's new deal done. Kenny Clark re-signing an extension, 3 years, $64 million. So Kenny Clark getting a second nice big payday for the Packers. 3 total contracts in his career, kind of, maybe a little bit outside the norm when it comes to the Packers. But remember, he was drafted fairly young, still fairly young considering the amount of years he has played, in the league and such. But I honestly feel like, I mean, this potentially could be, I know 3 years, $64 million, 64 kinda stands out for a lot of people, but I honestly feel like this potentially could be a a pretty darn good value contract when it's all said and done, and I'm putting a lot of, chips in the middle of the table here with this new style of defense, but I think Kenny Clark is a guy that is going to benefit greatly from a 4-3 defense, from this style of defense. I think you're gonna see another level of Kenny Clark. And I honestly feel like when it's all said and done, this may look like a nice, use the word bargain if you want, or value or anything like that, because if you look at it, his average per year, so 3, 64 divided by 3, that slots to about 12th among interior defensive linemen. 12th highest pay amongst other interior defensive linemen. Put it in that perspective, I feel like this is a solid deal for the Packers. I feel like it is. He's entering his ninth season, he's only 28 years old. 28 years old. And last year, he's coming off of a career high 7.5 sacks. And I think he's got an opportunity to maybe even surpass that this year. So, I like it. I think that's a solid deal for Green Bay, locking them up for a few more years there, and but we all know now Green Bay is trying to get that Jordan Love deal done. Jordan Love is at camp. For anybody thinking that he would hold out or maybe not show up, he is there. Packers team reporter even photographed him showing up to camp, so he has reported and such. So he's there. Don't have to worry about anything like that. But I got to admit, the fact that he's now there and with the Kenny Clark deal now fully, done, confirmed even by Green Bay, all the attention, all the focus now goes to Jordan Love's deal and getting that done and getting it squared away before the season starts. I feel like it will happen before the season starts. So, but we'll talk some green and gold as it is day one of camp. Got shareholders meeting today too, if anybody's going to that. But day one of camp, Jaden Reed. So usually when camp opens up and such, you've got certain players who are, listed as the, physically unable to perform list and non-football injury list. You have a couple of Packers that were on the put on the non-football injury list. Corey Ballentine, Caleb Jones, and Jaden Reed is one of them. So, not sure to the extent of what that injury is. Means he got hurt doing something from the last time they met to where he's at now. Could have been, when he was working out on his own and such, but don't know how serious. May not even be that serious and such. So, but definitely you don't like to see Jane Reed, who I think we were all expecting, to be a big time player this year to open up camp already a little bit dinged up there. So, but yeah, first practice 10:30 today. Bikes will get going, and tradition, one of my opinion, one of the best traditions in all the sports, with the kiddos and their bikes and all that heading out there. That'll start a little after 9 here. So I think they're gonna probably do it over online if you wanted to watch that. But so plenty of football talk coming up here. Baseball, Brewers back in action post All-Star break, going up against the Twins. Both these teams, their first games after the All-Star break, and it was the Brewers with the 2-game sweep over the Twinnies. Although they were grinded out games, they were close games, some errors and such, but nonetheless, the Brewers grinded it out and got the job done Saturday, winning 8-4 in 12 innings. That final score doesn't really tell the whole story. If you were watching the game, we're kind of following along to the game though, because it was 1-0 heading into the bottom of the 8th. Brewers are up 1-0. Twins tied it up, and then looked like the Brewers maybe were going to win it in the 11th, putting up a couple runs, but Twins tied it up, and then the Brewers followed it up by saying enough of this, and they put up 5 in the top of the 12th. And then yesterday, Brewers making a comeback, Twins taking back the lead. Eric Haas with a couple home runs, but the Brewers ultimately getting an 8-7 victory yesterday too. So Brewers off to good starts, win wise, maybe a little rusty post All-Star break after missing some of these guys not playing for a few days and such. But now they're back on the road. They were on the road this weekend, but traveling to Chicago to take on the Cubbies for a 3-game series. Brewers currently in first place by 5 games over the St. Louis Cardinals, so still holding on strong there. Speaking of the crew, obviously, a lot of people now going to be paying attention to that trade deadline, which is next Tuesday, July 30th. So we'll see what the Brewers are going to do. I want to talk a little bit about Jackson Cheerio, because Jackson Cheerio had himself a nice weekend, offensively against the Twinnies, collecting 5 hits, a home run, 5 total RBIs. And when you look at what he has done, last 30 games, his last 103 at bats here, the man is hitting 311 with an on base percentage of a 368. This youngster, this 20-year-old, and there was an at bat that he had yesterday when it was a 2-run RBI or a 2-run double, tied it up. I think it was that at bat off the top of my head. I was listening on the radio. But, his first at bat, he strikes out looking, then he starts off 0-2 count right away. Stays alive, extends the at bat, and ends up hitting that 2-run double to tie the ball game up. That's a 20-year-old. That's a 20-year-old that was a fantastic at bat from him. And you can just see the continued growth from Jackson Cheerio. He's growing up right in front of our eyes. He's getting better, seems like almost every week. And right now he has been playing some really solid baseball, especially from the offensive side of things. Overall this season, he's got 10 home runs, 40 RBIs. He's hitting 253, an OPS of a 706. But when you look at his last 103 at bats, guy's hitting over 311 right now. So we'll talk a little Jackson Cheerio later on this morning here too. So, uh, also on the dockets, we will do a weekend hangover. What was the best? What was the worst? What was the highs? What was the lows? What was the good? What was the bad from your weekend? Let us know. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. So Also, we will catch up with our good buddy, Mr. Justice Cleveland, from 7 to 7:30 again. So we'll catch up with him, talk a little local sports and such. So JC and EC, Sports Director, WEAU 13 News, will be joining us in about 45 minutes from now. So, but let's get things going here this morning, shall we? It's camping season. Let's go on a camping trip here. All right, let's go on a camping trip here. Let's talk a little green and gold to open up things. Kenny Clark locked up for the next few years here. All eyes now paying attention to when Jordan Love is going to get that contract here. And then we'll talk a little bit, some other stuff surrounding Pack heading into day one of training camp and such. What are some of the things that you're going to be following along? What are some of the things that you're going to be paying attention to? Maybe if you are going to practices, maybe you are going to camp, or maybe you're going to be following along online and such. We'll hit that up, and then obviously we'll get to some Brewers baseball here too, with the Brewers back in action. The Express are on their All-Star break here. They'll be back at it on Thursday. They're just 3 games back from first place right now. So final push there to rack up some wins and maybe get that second half championship to clinch their postseason spot. But let's get things rolling. We'll take that first break, and then coming up, happy camping season, everybody. Talk a little green and gold and all that good stuff after these quick words. it's not going to be too long until we get to hunting season here. I mean, when I think of when we flip the calendar to August and that's when it really kicks into me, and that's coming up already next week here. So get ready for hunting season with the help from our good friends at Tilden Gun. If you're in the market, if you're in the need for upgrading your deer hunting rifle, or maybe something for bear season, fall turkey, fall duck, whatever the case may be, go check out our good friends at Tilden Gun. Also visit their website, tildengun.com, for the biggest selection, all at the best prices. And for anybody who's going to be at the golf outing, our golf outing next Friday, get this, we're going to be raffling off a $500 gift card to Tilden Gun. $500 gift card to Tilden Gun, and only 52 cards will be sold. Only 52 raffle tickets, cards, whatever you want to call them, will be sold for that. So your chances of winning, not too shabby to win that $500 gift card from Tilden Gun. That way you can pick and choose what you would like to get, what firearm you would like to get from our good friends at Tilden Gun. So make sure you get on that when we have the open next Friday already. So all right, let's get things rolling here this morning. Steve from Eau Claire's already chiming in. He's on his way to Green Bay. Steve, a reporter on the ground. I know we have and I forgot to respond to him. I don't have to respond to him, but Randy, our good buddy Randy, as always, goes over to training camp, first part of training camp. Him and his family rent a house out over there right on Lombardi Avenue. He reached out, and they're going to be over there too. So we got a couple of you out there. You're going to be our reporters on the ground, all right? Make sure you're sending us some photos and such over there. So, all right, let's talk a little green and gold. Kenny Clark locked up, getting a brand new deal. Shouldn't say brand new deal. 3-year extension. Numbers out there. I haven't seen the full on numbers when it comes to Kenny Clark and such, but we know it's a 3-year, $64 million deal. And when you do it in terms of average per year, he's like 12th among interior defensive linemen out there. Amongst interior defensive linemen. So to me, when I see that, and when I hear that, he's got a slight raise to what he was originally going to get this year. I think that's a nice deal for Green Bay, and maybe I'm looking at this with rose-colored glasses and ever the optimist. But I mean, it's the first day of camp. Every fan, every team is optimistic on the season and such, but when I look at it in terms of this style of defense that's coming through with a 4-3 style defense, with Jeff Hafley saying he wants his defensive linemen to be aggressive and to go after the quarterback, I think we're in line to see a different version of a Kenny Clark, and I think even a better version of Kenny Clark, even with him being a veteran, almost double-digit years into this thing. He's still only 28 years old. I think and he came off of his career high of 7.5 sacks last year. I think we're going to see a better version of Kenny Clark. And when I think we get into this new deal, when he starts that, we're going to look at this and say that potentially could be a nice bargain for Green Bay. And honestly, that's best case scenario. We're looking at this thing and saying that is a bargain. I mean, when you do it, average per year, 12th, and I think he has a shot to really kind of, because I feel like Kenny Clark has been viewed as, and yes, he's gotten a couple Pro Bowls and such, but I honestly feel like he has been viewed as one of the most underrated defensive linemen in all of football. And a lot of that is because of what he has been asked to do within these defenses throughout his career. He's played in a 3-4. He's been asked to eat up some of the gaps and allow linebackers to make plays. And I don't think we have seen the full-on version of what Kenny Clark can really do. And that's what has me excited about one of the many things that has me excited about this new style of defense that Jeff Hafley is gonna be bringing in here. So even though he's had 3 Pro Bowls to his resume, I still feel like he is one of the more overlooked, and I don't know if I wanna use the word underappreciated because I think a lot of people may not know him because of what he was asked to do in certain roles, and then, can make the case, well, has he always had the best help up there? I don't know. And you never really heard him complain, right? And the guy has played double-digit games every single season. The fewest amount of games he has ever played has been 13, and the last time that was 2020. But since 2021, he has played in every single game. Ever since his rookie year in 2016, he's played in 16, 15, 13, 16, 13, 16, 17, 17. So I like the deal. I like the deal, and I honestly feel like we are going to be talking about this potentially being a nice bargain, a nice deal for the pack. And I honestly feel like Kenny Clark is one of those guys that we are going to see this year kind of probably maybe even have a career year. Like, if we were to do some bold predictions heading into this season, if we were to do some bold predictions, picks, whatever, on the start of training camp, what would some of your bold predictions be? What would some of your bold predictions be? Because I think one of mine would be Kenny Clark is going to have a career year. When I say career year, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over his 7.5 career sacks or 7.5 sacks that he had last season, sets a new career high there, sets a new career high in quarterback pressures, TFLs, tackles for losses. That would be one of mine. Let's put together a nice little bold prediction list here when it comes to the pack with the first day of training camp. Hit me up with some texts. 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line there. That would be one of them for me. Now all eyes are on Jordan Love's deal. I think when you look at this, when you look at the rest of the roster here, there's no question that it should be Jordan Love now who gets the next deal done. You get Kenny Clark's deal done, kind of work some stuff in there. You know what you can put on the cap this year and in the next couple of years there. Honestly, again, I don't have any insight. I don't have any inside info or sources or anything like that. I honestly feel like we are going to probably get a deal done for Jordan Love here soon. I feel like it's gonna be soon. For sure it's gonna be done before the start of the season. I really believe that. And I honestly feel like it's gonna be done probably in a few days, maybe in a couple weeks. And again, maybe it's just me with the rose colored glasses, but I feel like we are gonna get something announced. It's gonna be done fairly soon here. Jordan's back in the building. He's in Green Bay. He got the Kenny Clark deal done now. All focus should be on getting this one done. And I honestly feel like it's going to happen fairly soon. I really do. I think, if you spent this whole offseason, which we believe everything and I mean, I don't think there's anything to say that we can't believe it, but I mean, if they've really spent a big chunk of this offseason, majority of this offseason talking about a new deal, looking at the parameters of a new deal, seeing all these other quarterbacks getting their contracts. A lot of that stuff is already kind of, I think, set in terms of parameters and in that. So I feel like it's close to happening. Again, I don't have any inside info or analysis or thoughts on that, but I just what's left to get done. It's not like you don't have anything else on the pecking order here. So I feel like it's going to be close. I feel like it's going to be close. And then once that's locked up, I mean, you had Keyshawn Nixon tweeting out yesterday, now do 12 or now do 10 or 10's next up. I think once Jordan Love, for all the respect too, that Jordan Love was getting from his teammates last year. I mean, Rashawn Gary was a big one out there. You had a lot of guys talking about Jordan Love and just how he was and just the amount of respect that he had before the season began, during the season. I honestly feel like when he gets that deal, you're going to see everybody on that team super pumped for the guy, incredibly happy for the guy. And honestly, might be a moment too for this team where it's like now we go sort of thing. Not I don't think too often do you see when guys get their big deals like, oh yeah, dinner's on him, don't have to pay for meals, gifts, whatever. But I honestly feel like when Jordan Love's deal gets announced and it's officially signed, you're going to see a team that is going to be so pumped up and so happy for the guy because I honestly feel like they genuinely follow that guy. They view him as their leader. They're so impressed with him, and based off his play last year, for all the guys that were standing up for him last year, he kind of proved what they were all saying. And I just, whenever that's done, it's going to be all right. That cloud's not over us anymore. Let's focus straight up on football, and let's focus straight up on winning a lot of dang games and winning darn championships over there. So, hey, another thing I want to throw out to has anybody have any good like training camp stories? Like if were you a kid and somebody ran, one of the players rode your bikes or something like that on day one of training camp, let me know if you got any good stories or good memories from that. Once in a while I hear them. I've heard people tell me about, a Reggie White one or something like that, but anybody listening right now have a good story where they went down when they were kids. Maybe their parents took them down to a practice, and then I don't know. Did Favre ride your bike or something like that? Maybe something more recently. Maybe you've taken your kids or something like that. Anybody got any good training camp stories they want to share with the rest of us, with the rest of the class? Hit me up with a text, or you can even hit me up with an email if it's a little bit of a longer one over there too. All right, let me know. What do you got for me? Let's take a quick break, and then coming up, I want to talk some Brewers baseball here. Brewers back at it, getting a 2-game sweep over the Minnesota Twins. A little rusty. It looked like a little rusty there. Maybe coming off of a few days of a little bit of break there, but nonetheless, it was a grinded out type of series win for the Crew. Jackson Cheerio kind of picking up where he left off after right before the All-Star break there, and the youngster, he's playing some really good baseball offensively. Really good baseball right now. The growth from Jackson Cheerio. When it comes to Jackson Cheerio, has he surpassed your expectations that you had on him this year, or not? What has been your impression of Jackson Cheerio so far? What has been your impression of Jackson Cheerio so far? And keep those coming. What are some of your bold predictions? What are some of your bold predictions when it comes to the pack as we get set for the first practice training camp season officially beginning today? Hit me up with some text, all right? Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. If it's time to get your vehicle in for an oil change, or maybe it's time to get some new tires on your vehicle, whatever the case may be, make your appointment today at our good friends at ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Or maybe you want to save some money on a high quality used auto part, or maybe you got a project where you're working on a vehicle and such. Check out ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire, located right across the street from the Dodge on the west side of Eau Claire, Menominee Street over there. So get your vehicles in for that oil change. Get some new wheels on there. Get some new tires on there, and no better place to go than our good friends at ASAP Used Auto Parts in EC. Brew Crew picking up 2 wins over the weekend against the Minnesota Twins, a quick 2-game sweep. Brew Crew now on the road, taking on the Chicago Cubs starting tonight for a 3-game series before returning home to begin a 3-game series against Miami starting on Friday, and then they will welcome the Atlanta Braves to town for the series after that. But first things first here, Brewers picking up both those wins. Go back to Saturday's game, first game for both these ball clubs after the All-Star break, and it was 1-0. Maybe it looked like the Brewers were going to squeak out a 1-0 victory. Twinnies tying it up in the bottom of the 8th there, and then a little back and forth, couple runs each in the 11th inning for both ball clubs, and then the Brewers put up 5 in the 12th, and that was enough to secure the victory for the Crew. And then yesterday, a little back and forth here too, and Brewers ended up winning that one 8-7. Eric Haas, quite the day for him yesterday with a couple home runs and such. But this youngster, Jackson Cheerio, man, Jackson Cheerio, you look at what he has been doing. Not only are these 2 games where he picked up where he left off before the All-Star break. I mean, the guy is performing offensively pretty dang good, pretty darn good. I mean, home run, five total hits, 5 RBIs, couple stolen bases in these 2 games against the Twins. But you expand it to his last 103 at bats. Jackson Cheerio is hitting .311. He's got an on-base percentage of a .368, slugging .476. In fact, in his last 30 at-bats, he's slugging .533. So far on the season, Jackson Cheerio's got 10 home runs, 40 RBIs, 12 stolen bases, hitting .253, an on-base percentage of a .302, and an OPS of a .706. How has Jackson Cheerio, has he impressed you so far? Has he lived up to your expectations? I mean, what has been your gauge of Jackson Cheerio thus far? If we go back to preseason prediction, I know Brandon and I did our preseason predictions, and it was one of the questions or one of the topics we had is like, who's going to be the biggest disappointment? And I picked Jackson Cheerio in terms of, I thought that a lot of fans would have super high expectations of Jackson Cheerio, that in his first year he wouldn't live up to a lot of fans' expectations. Like, they were just super high with the contract, with all the hype coming in, that they were going to have this incredibly high level for him, and that maybe it was just going to be almost impossible for him to hit. So for some fans, he might be a disappointment this year. But considering where he's at right now and what he has done so far this year, how do you feel he has done up until this point? I'll tell you what, I think he's kind of slightly exceeded my expectations. Now, I know we still have a big chunk of the season left here. A lot of things could change, but I think up until this point, up until July 21st, the morning of July 21st, 22nd, excuse me, he has slightly exceeded my expectations. I mean, we had the ups and downs, especially in the first couple months of the season. We've seen some, defensive issues there where, we've gone through it. He plays a little bit deeper in the outfield because, just the timing wise, and you would expect that gets a little bit better the more experience he gets and all that good stuff. But from an offensive standpoint, to see where he's at right now, I honestly I feel like he's slightly exceeding my expectations right now. He is playing better than what I kind of thought he would be right now, and I hope he continues to get better. And I think that's the thing. That's what's exciting about a guy like Jackson Cheerio and what we're seeing so far is that we have this assumption that like we're pretty confident, we're really hopeful that he's just going to continue to get better. This is what we're seeing in his rookie year. Sky's the limit right now for this guy. So he has been playing incredibly well as of late here. He has been a I mean, they're not Brewers are not winning games in spite of Jackson Cheerio. They're not winning games in spite of him and trying to go through the growing pains because of he's a rookie and didn't have any big league experience, barely any AAA experience. They're winning because Jackson Cheerio is a part of that equation too. Brewers next up for the Crew again, as we mentioned, will be a series against the Chicago Cubbies on the road here, and they'll be back at home against Arizona, or excuse me, Miami to open up a 3-game series there at the end of the week here. But a lot of people now are going to be paying attention to the trade deadline, which is coming up a week from tomorrow. The Brewers did add another bullpen arm, Tyler J, in a trade with the Mets. I mean, with the Mets this year, he's only appeared in 3 games, a couple games in April, 1 game in the beginning of July here, and honestly, it seems like it's another kind of reclamation project, if you will, that the Brewers are going to attempt to do with him. That's what it kind of. He's a former first round pick. So it seems like this is a typical type of Brewers move. But first 3 games, the first games of his MLB career, he's got a 7.71 ERA in those 3 games. He's 30 years old. As we mentioned, he was a first round pick by the Twins back in 2015 here. So I, again, I don't know what to expect from him. Right now, he's in AAA. He's in AAA. Maybe we see him at some points be a part of that bullpen option, but this maybe could just be a move that is a little bit later on. I don't think, this is a big time move like, oh yeah, this is going to be their bullpen, you know, add him in there and now we go sort of thing. No, it's a minor move at this point, and I think it's another example of the Brewers trying to hit on a guy that, originally maybe came in with high expectations. I mean, you're a first round pick, you're coming in with high expectations, right? Hasn't lived up to that. So the Brewers again trying to do a little reclamation project. But no doubt a lot of Brewers fans now paying attention to the rumors out there. Will the Brewers make another move, make a bigger move before next Tuesday's deadline? I mean, I was listening to the broadcast over the weekend here too, and I can't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but I mean, you even got the guys, the announcers, kind of just, they were even saying like, yeah, they expect the Brewers to make moves. I mean, I think at this point, a lot of Brewers fans are just expecting the Brewers to make a move, like something's going to happen, that they're going to add another starting pitcher to this, and it's setting up to where if they don't, I think you're going to have a lot of Brewers fans that are going to be pretty disappointed, maybe even pretty upset that they don't make a move to add a starting pitcher before the deadline. I mean, you just have this assumption from so many people out there that they're going to add. They're going to add somebody, and rightfully so. I mean, you're in first place, and an obvious weakness on your team has been starting pitching, and a lot of it's because you've had injuries. You got guys that are going to miss the rest of the season. Wade Miley's gone. Robert Gasser's gone. It's an obvious need. but it's also setting up, like, if they don't make that move, and then we're gonna be back to how many times have we been at that trade deadline where we're maybe a little down, a little upset that they didn't make that move. And I think this is a big week, this week, for some of these teams. They gotta figure out, are they gonna be sellers or are they gonna be buyers? National League got a little bit closer here too. I mean, right now, when you look at some of the standings here, it's the same top three: Phillies, Dodgers, Brewers. Wild card, it's the same teams in there: Braves, Cardinals, and Mets. However, you got the Diamondbacks now, just like same win percentage as the Mets. Padres, same win percentage as the Mets. The Pirates are now just a half game out from a wild card spot. San Francisco's 3. Cubs are 3.5. I mean, the Nationals may want to reevaluate things. They said they're going to be sellers, but they've won 3 in a row, and now they're just 4 back. So things got a little bit tighter right now in the National League. And when you look at these, we don't have to worry about Phillies or the Dodgers, the Brewers, but the Cardinals, they're taking on Pittsburgh. This is a big series between the Cardinals and Pittsburgh. You got the Mets that's going to be taking on Miami. Yeah. I'm looking for teams that maybe look at this week as like, okay, this is going to tell us whether we're going to be buyers or sellers. The Giants are going to be taking on the Dodgers here, so they may potentially move down a little bit further. And the Reds taking on Atlanta, so that's going to be a tough series for them. American League wise, I mean, you still got Baltimore, you got Cleveland up there. Houston has caught Seattle, their division leader now. Yankees, wild card. Twinnies, wild card. Kansas City, wild card. AL Central, things are getting tight in that division there. Boston now just 1 game back from wild card. They've lost their last 3 though, but I don't think they're going to be sellers by any stretch. Mariners are 2.5 back, and then things kind of start to open up there a little bit more. Tampa Bay's 4.5. 4.5 back. Tigers are 6 back. The Rangers are 7.5 back. Toronto's 9.5 back. Then you got the Angels and the Oakland A's and obviously the White Sox down there. But I think for some of these teams now, it's going to be a big week. This has got to be the week where they decide if they're going to be buyers or sellers. Some of these games, the results of their games, this is going to be that time. Maybe we'll have a clear picture by the weekend and such. But there's no doubt. I mean, and I was trying to find some of the rumblings and the rumors, and for the most part, it's been pretty quiet surrounding some Brewers rumors out there, which I mean shouldn't be too big of a surprise out there. But I think leading up to this trade deadline, it's fairly quiet. It's fairly quiet. But I think it's just teams are kind of a wait and see approach, assessing things, and they're making calls. No doubt, I got to imagine they're making calls right now. So, all right, coming up in a few minutes. Oh, that'll be the top. But then we've got JC and EC Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, WEAU 13 News. He's going to join us for just a little bit here. We'll get back to some more camp talk. What are the biggest, what are some of your bold predictions for the Pack as they get set to open up camp today? Kenny Clark's got that new deal. Next up's got to be Jordan Love, right? I mean, that's the one we're kind of waiting on here. So we'll get back to some more Brewers talk coming up as well. Don't forget, it is the weekend hangover. What are the highs? What are the lows? What are the best? What are the worst from the weekend for you? Let us know. Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line or comment on the video stream and such. You can let us know over there. We'll catch up on some of the local stuff with JC's. Xander Schauffele is your Open Championship now that the major championship season in the world of golf is officially in the books. Xander Schauffele winning his 2nd major this year. So we'll hit that up with Justice coming up here too. Catch up on some couple of texts here. Josh says, my bold prediction is that Marshawn Lloyd will emerge as a number 2 behind Jacobs. couple more here. My bold prediction is that Luke Musgrave is going to lead the team in touchdowns this year. Bold prediction. This is from David that Jordan Morgan takes over left tackle uh, from the other from the other guy. Okay. I think what you're referring to there is that Morgan's going to be now. Let me ask you follow up: is Morgan going to be the day one starter at left tackle, or eventually takes over at left tackle? Now, is he going to take over for Walker before the season begins? That's who the other guy is, by the way. Or is that something that's going to happen this season? A little follow up question for you there, sir. So, a couple more bold predictions here from Packers fans with day one of camp. Bold prediction: Jordan Love's contract gets signed this week. Bold prediction: Kenny Clark has 12 sacks, says Eric, this year. All right, I like him. Those are some bold ones out there. I think, yeah, those are some real like when I want bold predictions, I want some bold ones, not stuff that's I think we all assume's gonna happen and such. I want some bold ones out there. All right, so hit me up. Also, I'm looking for your assessment from what you have seen from Jackson Cheerio so far. Has he lived up to your expectations so far? Has he maybe kind of exceeded them? Maybe even disappointed them? Or are you a little disappointed and such? What has been your assessment from one Jackson Cheerio so far? Okay, guy's playing really well as of late, especially on at the plate. Dude made a nice diving catch on Saturday too to secure the win for the crew. But what has been your assessment? What has been your kind of thoughts on the play from the rookie, from the youngster this year? Overall, not just this hot stretch, because obviously this hot stretch, the guy's been awesome, but overall, this whole season had a little bit of ups and downs. But for the most part, has he exceeded or hit or maybe not lived up to your expectations yet? All right. I want to hear from you, Brewers fans. Let me know. Okay. We'll get back to some of your texts coming up a little bit later on here. So we'll get to those, give you a little bit of time there to hit us up there. So, all right, as I mentioned, shot clock's going to cut me off here in about 30 seconds. We'll catch up with Justice Cleveland coming up in just a little bit. We'll do the weekend hangover as well. Get your highs and lows, best and worst coming on in. All right, send those puppies on over. Want to hear from you? Maybe I don't know. Did have a good weekend at kiddos have a good weekend at a ball tournament or something like that? Share it with us, okay? One in. We got two more to go here. Got some news updates. Also, got a couple more matchups for our most underrated Wisconsin sports athlete of all time. Got that bracket challenge we got to get to as well. All right. We'll be back in just a few minutes after these quick words.
Defensive play there in the middle to give him a couple runs. Savali, although not throwing the ball well, he's out of that inning. You know what I mean? And God knows what happens after that.
So who helped him get out of the jams? Let's go to the bullpen.
I mean, there was good performances. Pagero getting out of that jam. It's a credit to him. You know, Koenig getting out of his mess, and then McGill getting out of his mess. So I thought there was good there.
Oh, you can't talk sports if you're not awake. And you know what? Worst day ever. Kasper spilled his coffee. Have you seen this guy without caffeine in the morning? Just puts his head on the table and
You know what I mean? And God knows what happens after that.
for Sports Talk 105.1, I'm Morgan McCarthy.
We're starting off the work week with some patchy fog, which will give way to intervals of clouds and sun this morning, leading to a few chances at some pop-up showers and storms later in the afternoon with temperatures in the low 80s. Otherwise, later on tonight, cloud cover hangs around. Couple chances at some showers and storms stay in the area as we only fall to the mid-60s. Going to be a pretty mild start tomorrow morning, with more chances at some afternoon showers and storms with highs near 80. I'm 13 First Alert meteorologist Mike D'Andrea.
Good morning. It's time to take a look at some farm news on Sports Talk 105.1. Starting next month, you can now seize the opportunity to learn and enjoy fishing with the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources Fishmobile. The Fishmobile provides loaner fishing tackle and bait to teach you about fishing and to ensure you have everything you need for a successful outing. This is for beginners
Hello.
or if you're looking to improve your skill.
How are you?
You can try your hand at fly fishing for bluegills in Monona
Good.
Bay
You have
or
a good
hone your
weekend?
spin casting skills throughout the season. All the events will be taking place down in the Madison area.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Haven't done this in a while. I gotta figure out the right buttons to push. This is easier, dude. Oh gosh, that was weird. Oh, peachy, just peachy. So he got married like a few months ago. I think it was just their celebration this weekend. Yeah. Oh God, yeah, yeah. I yeah. I have him muted, so I don't even see that stuff anymore. So yep, yep. So are you excited for two football teams to come in here now? Yeah. Those two now. They've had two. Yeah, I was reading a little bit. They have to go through the DA's office now if they want a permit to play next year. Yep. And now I see there's one going at the VSA. Yeah. It's tell me how this makes sense. A semi-pro nonprofit team. No. Nope. I don't know how they're gonna play in that gym at the Sonntag. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna be up here in a few seconds. Second hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning. Let's go camping, baby. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from this morning. Coming up, we'll do a little weekend hangover. What was the best? What was the worst? What was the highs, the lows, and all that good stuff here. So we'll get to that coming up a little bit later on. We'll get back to some more of your texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Hit us up. Join the convo, 715-830-1912. Let's bring them on in. JC and the EC Sports Director Extraordinaire, WEAU 13 News, Justice Cleveland. Good morning, Justice. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, first things first, Xander Schauffele getting his second major of the season so far this year. So your thoughts on what you watched from the Open this past weekend?
Oh, I love the Open. It was enjoyable to watch, but Xander just put on a clinic yesterday, especially on the back nine of just how to get a lead and then just maintain it. I mean, he looks cool, calm, and collected. I mean, it's funny how, getting that first major, I remember seeing it with like Phil Mickelson. He'd been that guy. And Xander was that guy who would the best without a major,
Mhm.
and then to get that, and now it's almost it not gonna say it comes easy because that's a tough course to win one on, but he made it look easy on the back nine there, and I think we're gonna see a few more majors from him. He's just calm. Him and Scheffler's kind of the same way. They don't get up, too down. They're just always right there. So yeah, and got the Olympics. He's already an Olympic gold medalist, so he's got another chance to try to go back to back with that coming up here
Mhm.
at the end of the month as well. So yeah, very impressive. Tough track there, especially on Saturday. That it's quickly how easily these guys can be separated on that course for the guys that struggled, like let's say Rory McIlroy and stuff like that. It was a tough sledding for a lot of those guys, but Xander just kept it steady the whole way to get the second major of the season.
Yeah, no doubt. So it's kinda weird to say though that they're done with the major championship season, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it feels like that's the end of summer almost. It's like the first note of, the end of summer, it feels like.
I tweeted it out yesterday. It just kind of makes me a little sad because I love the majors. I really do. I mean, it's a fun for the 4 days of just kind of, especially now with the amount of access you can get to all these championships while they're going on and be able to watch pretty much everything. It's really for me as a golf junkie. I love it. So it's tough, but I mean, again, with the Olympics coming up, that'll be fun, and then of course the playoffs too. So still a lot of golf to be played, but it's a little sad that it's next April and we'll get our next major.
Mhm, no doubt. So, all right, Justice, happy, first day of, training camp. Do you have any good, from your years of covering camp and going over there, do you have any, like, stories or memories of the beginning of training camp that kind of, sticks out to you when we get to this time of year?
Well, I would definitely go back to the Brett Favre retirement.
Yeah.
That one
Uh,
was just crazy because you had to bring back Brett people that were just booing like Rodgers when he'd go onto the field, and it was that was just a circus.
mhm.
It really was that whole summer. But I just I remember because it was 2 a days
Yeah.
back when I first started. So it was you'd wake up, go out there at like 8 in the morning, watch them practice, go back, get some lunch, then you'd be back out there at like 2 in
Mhm.
the afternoon and covering them. And it was like training camp for the photographers too. I mean, you're out there, it's 90 degrees. You're trying to find whatever shade because back then they were practicing next to like next to the Hudson Center. Not so they didn't have Hinkle Field yet. So it was the fields right next on the other side of the Hudson Center where they would be practicing. So you just try to find whatever shade you could coming off the Hudson Center, but usually there wasn't any. And it was just always it was such an adventure of just trying to find out who all these people are for a lot of the rookies and stuff like that, trying to get footage of them, and then just trying to see where the teams were at. And sometimes you'd get the years where they brought like Tim Couch in to be like the backup quarterback. So you're trying to find, get as much Tim Couch footage and analyze everything that he's doing out there on the field. So yeah, it's definitely for the media. It's like, okay, here we go. It the next 5-6 months, this is going to be what you're going to be doing. So it's very very much the same for the players as well.
Mhm. Yeah, no doubt. So, it's a different feel this year though too, doesn't it feel? I mean, obviously last year it was a different feel, but it was like, okay, we get our glimpse of Jordan Love and such. And the years before that, it was the whole Aaron Rodgers drama dynamic. I almost feel like heading into camp this year, Justice, it's like there's not a whole lot of, well, first of all, there's no drama, but there really doesn't seem to be like, okay, that one thing to really super hyper focus on. The only thing it might be is like, when is Love going to get his contract? And I think we all expect that that's going to happen. But I can't remember the last time, Justin. It's been a while that we headed into camp with high expectations, high goals, but really maybe not even any drama or anything like that. It feels like it's been a little bit.
Yeah, maybe the mid 2015, 2016 or
Yeah.
something like that, since it was no doubt that it was Aaron Rodgers' team back then. But
Mhm.
even then, there was still expectations, coaching whispers, or are they going to be able to do anything? So yeah, it has been quite a while. So yeah, I think the only thing you're looking at is, you got a new defensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens with that defense. But I expect the Jordan Love domino here to fall pretty soon now that Kenny Clark got paid.
Mhm.
So see those dominoes falling in place to see how much money they're going to be able to get to Jordan, and I feel like that'll get done here very soon.
I do too. Like I for sure, I think it's going to be before their first game against Philadelphia. I feel like it's going to be, coming up here in a couple weeks. So you mentioned the Kenny Clark deal. We don't know the full on certain numbers there, but we know it's a 3-year, $64 million extension, and if you do it average per year, he's about the 12th highest paid interior offensive lineman when you do average per year. Maybe I'm looking at this at rose-colored glasses, Justice, but I feel like we're going to see that contract as a bargain, coming up here, because I feel like Kenny Clark's going to be a guy that's really going to benefit from this new style of defense. When you hear that that average of 12th highest paid interior defensive lineman, and it's Kenny Clark, do you have that same sense, or what were your thoughts on that new contract extension?
Oh, I think it's a deal for the Packers. If he stays on the field and is healthy, and like you said, he can flourish in this new style of defense, it's going to be a good deal for them. So, I mean, if you're the Packers, you're freeing up some of that. It's nice to have this, ability to do this again. Now that you're not, trying to pay one guy. I mean, you're going to be paying Jordan Love a lot of money,
Mhm.
but it's not quite Aaron Rodgers yet money that was just kind of hampering what you could do. So I really think this is going to be a good deal for them. And with Hafley coming in and guys excited about this system, and Kenny Clark's just been a leader on that defense. I think a few years ago we were kind of talking about how this team started to need a little more of those leaders, that leadership on defense. I think Kenny Clark, he's a guy who's front and center after every game, answering every question about what went on out there. So yeah, this is a guy it's great to lock up and have as, a keystone for this defense.
Absolutely. I think he's a guy that I'm really excited to see. I mean, coming off of 7.5 sacks last year, which was his career high, but he's been a guy, I think, kind of overlooked because of what he's been asked to do throughout his entire career. But I think he's in line to explode. And the guy's only 28 years old too. I mean, he's almost played double-digit years, but he's only 28 years old.
And the tough thing is about those interior linemen is that people, with defense, people tend to hyper focus on the sacks.
Yeah.
And what that means. But for him, that's not what his big thing is going to be. It's going to be being able to control the run. And I think that, he gets his sacks, and it's going to happen. But that's what you really shouldn't, be hyper focusing on about when you look at a nose tackle.
Mhm.
It's being able to clog up that zone in the middle and free up other guys at times to go out there and get the sack. And if he can do that, I mean, with the guys that he has around him, and if this defense, we've been talking about this defense, I feel like, for a long time. Because this can be the year where they finally live up maybe to those expectations we've had for this defense. Watch out. This could be a really fun group to watch.
I agree. What are some of the other storylines that maybe you're going to be kind of following along or paying attention to as camp gets set to open a little bit, in actually just a couple hours from now?
I think you got to look at first just how, the running back situation is going to play out. I mean, obviously, who Josh Jacobs is going to be your number one, but where does AJ Dillon fall now in this team, and how that's all going to kind of go. I mean, it's going to be a passing team. I think that's going to be their bread and butter. But I think if you want to have Josh Jacobs go out there and be able to put up big numbers and have AJ Dillon right there, receiving wise, I mean, obviously, I think we're all looking to see just how good of a group this can be with the amount of depth they have, and who's going to be probably, one of the odd people likely out of that group.
Yeah.
With the amount of guys you have there, likely you're not going to be able to keep everybody. You're going to try, and they were able to get production from everybody last year, so who knows? And then, yeah, I think, you also want to see like the Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, and that tight end situation, Ben Sims thrown in there too, of what they can do. And I mean, it's always that safety valve. And if you look at these teams now, I mean, tight end is such a huge position. It's always been a huge position, but I mean, now in the modern football, the amount of receptions you need to get from your tight end is huge. And in the ability to get those guys open, I think, yeah, I look at this. To me, basically, it's that offense, just seeing what it can do in year two of Jordan Love as a starter. And then obviously the questions on the line of, you've gotten more of an experienced group now, but it still needs to go out there and prove something. So other than the defense, I just wanted to see what year 2 of that offense can really provide.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, all right. Transitioning over to a little bit of baseball here. So the Brewers now back from their All-Star break, getting the 2-game sweep over the Twins right now. Obviously, we're going to be watching a lot of the trade deadline rumors coming up on next Tuesday. But Justice, one question I was kind of throwing out there in the first hour was: has Jackson Cheerio lived up to your expectations? Has he hit your expectations thus far? Has he maybe not? I mean, looks like he's picked up in those 2 games, picked up where he kind of left off before the All-Star break. In his last 30 games, last 103 at bats, he's hitting over 300. He had 5 hits, 5 RBIs in these 2 games against the Twins right now. What has been your thoughts or your reaction to what you've seen from Jackson Cheerio so far this year?
Oh, I've enjoyed it. I mean, you got a guy who's 20 years old. I think that's a tough thing. You look at him when he's out there playing, and he does not look like a 20-year-old player. He looks like a veteran player when he's out there playing. So you don't even think about how really young he is. So to me, that's the big thing. And then, yeah, he had his struggles early on, and that's kind of to be expected when you're coming in at that age. I mean, April and March, he was batting 206, but then that's the thing. You've watched that climb every month. It was 250 in May, 315 in June, and now he's hitting so far in July 300. So you've seen the maturation, the fact that he is learning how to handle Major League Baseball pitching, and it's not going the other way. It would have been one thing if he would have started out hitting 315 and now is hitting 206 or something like that, but we're seeing it go the opposite way. So, I mean, for a guy to come in at his age and already have 10 home runs, 40 runs batted in and hitting 250, in a team that struggled for offense last year, this is what you want. This is, the sky's the limit, and you just hope that it continues the way it's going, because if he's on this trajectory, he's going to be the superstar that the Brewers hope he's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Obviously a little up and down at the beginning first couple months, but I mean, when we put it in perspective too, this guy, played a handful of games at the AAA level last year. I mean, nothing to even brag about. And then gets vaulted up to the major league roster this year. To look at what he has done, I think I think he's kind of exceeded my expectations so far. I know he's still working on his defense in the outfield, but he made a nice catch to end the game on Saturday with that diving catch, and that's something that they've been working on a little bit. But I think I put it this way, they're winning games not in spite of Jackson Cheerio. They're winning games because Jackson Cheerio is being a part of that equation too.
Oh yeah, I think that's exactly the way you're putting it. He has become an asset. He's not a liability. I think back to some of the days like a JJ Hardy. Remember when they brought him up? They stashed him at the back of the lineup. You didn't want him to have did the moment to be too big until he was ready. Jackson Cheerio's kind of been pushed in there from day one, and he's answered the bell, especially these last couple months. So yeah, I think it was a great we have a long time for this contract. It's an 8-year contract, but year 1 for a 20-year-old to come out and do what he's doing, I've been more than impressed.
Yeah, I agree. So with the trade deadline coming up next Tuesday, it sure seems like I was listening to the broadcast over the weekend. You got the guys over there, the announcers coming. They assume the Brewers are going to make a move or a couple moves there. I think we all are kind of eyeing up, maybe another starter added into that rotation there. But still, you look at the National League, Justice, and you got a lot of teams that are still, in the hunt for a wild card spot. Do you think this is the week though this is a big week for some of those teams to really kind of finally answer the question whether they're going to be buyers or sellers?
Oh yeah, and I mean the Brewers pitching. I mean that's what it's going to be. They've got to find something to shore up that lineup, because they've got a lot of band-aids, especially when it comes to the starters. I think the bullpen has been just phenomenal, and at times pitching out of their mind. But yeah, I think if you're the Brewers, you're looking for starting pitching. So if you find those teams that if a team gets off to a bad start here and becomes sellers, you almost got to pounce on it and see if you can get a chance. I mean, you've got some younger guys that you can deal if you have to. You have some pieces in place. So there's guys that have major league experience that they'll be able to kind of place out there too if they need to. So I think yeah, if you're the Brewers, you're looking at those, and then once you see that somebody's got an arm that you think it can help you, you go out there and get it, because this team has the way they're playing this year. This is a team that I think could make a good run in the playoffs if you get if you can get a couple of starters around them.
Mm-hmm. Who's been the most disappointing team in baseball so far for you?
Ooh, always $1 million question there. I mean that. I mean, does it count to say a team over 17 games over 500 has been disappointing the way the Yankees have been playing
Yeah.
as of late? But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Cubs a little bit. I saw Craig Counsell getting a little testy in our presser this past weekend. I don't know if that's starting to kind of feed over a little bit with the frustration levels.
I mean, that to me, that the amount of money that was spent on him and the expectations that they have with him coming in, I think you could throw the Cubs definitely right there near the top of that. There's a lot of teams that are just meddling around 500. Like the Mets had their run, so they're back over 500. But man, at the beginning of the season, they looked like junk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's, like you said, like you got a team like Atlanta who you expect to be near the top, but they're still 10 games over 500.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of these teams that are probably performing a little under what you would think. San Diego, with the amount of money they've spent, you would expect them to be more than 2 games over 500, but they're all within striking distance and have that ability to make a run. And you can go in the American League West. I think Texas being 5 games under 500 is very disappointing for them, but they're still 5 games back of Houston. So I think a lot of these teams, like you said, I think you hit the nail when you said like this week could be the one that separates a lot of these teams. Because if you get off to a horrible start, yeah, you can become sellers real quick.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week to kind of follow. I know you got everybody trying to figure out who's going to be a buyer, who's going to be a seller. You got all the articles and all the blog posts out there, and I was reading some about Cubs aren't going to be buyers and all that. But I mean, we've been surprised before. I mean, a late run could change some of these teams' perspectives, or a late collapse could change a lot of those perspectives too. So I got to imagine with all these National League teams that are still in the hunt, price is going to be high to acquire a starting pitcher or any of these players that are rumored to be potentially on the move.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a seller's market. I mean, they're going to be able to ask some pretty good prices because there are so many teams, not just, teams making a run, but elite teams that have been in the playoffs in the last few years and making runs. So if you're a team like Oakland, if you're a team like Colorado, White Sox, yeah, Toronto's, they're probably a disappointment at 9 games under 500 as well. In Miami, these are the teams that are going to be able to ask, back up the Brinks truck, give us the best deal, which it's going to be tough maybe for the Brewers because I don't, what the amount of assets right away, depending on what these teams are looking for, it might be a little tougher for the Brewers to compete with some of these bigger market teams.
Right. All right. Before I let you go, because I got to cover all the bases here, Justice, really quick, Bucks one. What'd you make of the Gary Trent Jr. signing last week? Because I absolutely loved it.
Oh, I do too. I like the way they're going here in the off season. You're retooling, but I think you're getting better pieces that'll fit the puzzle than you had last year. And I think it feels like they're doing it more here in the offseason than they did last season. It felt like everything was just being built during the season and they never really had a chance to gel. And you were just trying to put Band-Aids and patch holes and stuff like that. I think this year you go out and get some of these guys that can be there from the start. And you have a Gary Trent who's got some rapport with Lillard too. So, I mean, I think it's a good signing for them. And really, I think that for a team that it's going to be interesting to see what the expectations are with this team after last year. But I think getting these good veterans in there right away and having them part of this team and see what can happen once they have a full season together. I think this team, maybe these are the little pieces they were missing for a team that was right there in most of their games until the end. Maybe you don't have those lapses you had last year on defense and, lose a lot of those games late.
Yeah. I really, especially the fact that it sounds like he took the minimum. He turned down $15 million from Toronto in a long-term deal, and the Bucks apparently got him for the minimum. I mean, come on now. That's ridiculous. Maybe, or that's just bad business decisions on his part too. Who knows?
Well, I mean, see, when you don't have a lot to work with, I think the Bucks have done a great job with little they had. It's never easy. I mean, there's always ways to kind of finagle the cap, but they were in a tough spot, but were able to land a couple of guys that should really be able to help them once the season goes. And they're going to lean. Doc loves to lean on his veterans.
Oh,
As
yeah.
much as we watch summer league and stuff like that, wondering how the Bucks are going to do. And so the veterans are going to be the big key for this team.
Do you think, since we're pretty much at the end of July and he's still on the team, that the Bucks are going to open up the season with Brook Lopez?
I think so.
Mhm.
I think they'll give him the shot to. I mean, he's still an asset. It's just defensively, he just can't. He's not the same player he used to be, especially when he's trying to guard somebody out
Mhm.
on the perimeter. He just can't do that. I mean, he's going to get you blocks if he can play more of a traditional center position. And who knows? We'll see what defenses they come up with, but there's no speed there anymore.
Right.
And we watched it all last season, just getting blown by when he's forced to guard somebody who's just got crazy athleticism out there, who is more of somebody Giannis would be guarding,
Right.
who has that ability. So I'm fine with it, because I mean, he still can come. If you even have him come off the bench and he's hitting 3-pointers and can still shoot the three like he can, that's still an asset. And he's still tall and he can still rebound. So
Mhm. Yep.
it comes in handy.
Oh, yeah. All right, Justice. We appreciate the time this morning, buddy, and enjoy it. Try to get out on the golf course here a little bit more before the fall prep season begins underway. We got football practice starting up here in just under 2 weeks or a couple weeks away. So
Yeah, it's all coming fast. I mean, July, just you snap your fingers like a firework. It explodes it's August. So yeah, gonna enjoy it a little bit before we get into the full schedule of prep sports starting back up.
absolutely. All right, dude. You have a good week, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Okay, bud?
Sounds good. Everybody out there, have a good week as well.
Thank you. There we go. Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, WEAU 13 News. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back after these few short words. 4th annual Casper Classic next Friday, baby. Next Friday already. Can you believe it? It's already coming up. Man alive, it's coming up fast. We got a couple more, just a couple spots available for that 7:30 tee time. So if you want to get in early, maybe you got to do some work later on, but you want to get around in, you can head to sportstalk1051.com and sign up your two-person team for just $90. $90, and that gets you some drink tickets, free meal, rounds, cart, all that good stuff. But our 10:30, or excuse me, our 10:30, 10 o'clock, not 10:30, 10 o'clock, and I keep saying 10:30 because other people keep telling me 10:30, 10 o'clock, and 1:30 tee times are sold out, sold out. So big thanks to everybody who has signed up and is going to be playing next Friday. A big shout out to Princeton Valley Golf Course for hosting us again this year. They're going to have their Bloody Mary bar opened up for next Friday for us again. Hy-Vee, our Champions Meal sponsors. Big shout out to them. Residence Branding Company, Title Belt sponsors this year. Gemco Surfaces, our putting green sponsors. Park Ridge Distributing, our beverage sponsors. That's why you get some free drink tickets because of Park Ridge Distributing. Muldoon's Menswear, first time we're doing this year. We got a green jacket sponsor. We're going to be awarding a green jacket to somebody every year. That's a big supporter for Backyard Dreams and the golf outing. Also, shout outs to Carpet City Flooring Center, AJM Automotive Service, the Elbow Room, Edward Jones Financial Advisor, Kelsey Nikolai, Doodah Gin, Hannah Sellner Agency, American Family Insurance, Shepke Chiropractic, Shoe Doctor, Service Master, Chippewa Valley, Myron Construction, and VFW Post 305. And next Friday, when we're out there doing the program too, I want to hand out some Backyard Dreams funds. So in the next day or so, give me some nominations. If you know somebody, especially with maybe football season starting up, if somebody needs help with some fees or some new equipment or such, if a player needs help with that, let us know. A team or something like that, they need help with some funds, let us know, because during the show next Friday, we want to hand out or we want to award some Backyard Dreams funds to those out there. So hit me up with an email or shoot me a message on Facebook is probably the easiest way to do it. So let me know. But we want to do that Friday during the program there too, because that's what the golf outing's for, is for Backyard Dreams and such. So, all right, great article. I was reading a little bit during the break. Our good buddy Rob Domofsky has a good article up about the shareholders, because we've got the shareholder meeting today, and kind of talked a little bit about the uniqueness of this. A lot of talk about Bob Harlan in that, so I was able to skim through some of it, some good quotes in that, and it's well worth your time. It's not that long of a read by any means, but go ahead and check it out. I know a few of you have already chimed in early this morning on the texting line saying you're heading over to practice and you're heading over to the shareholders meeting and such. So drive safe over there. Anything, you are our reporters on the ground. You are our reporters on the ground. So make sure that you kind of keep us posted and let us know what's going on over there and such. All right, let us know who kind of really stood out to you if you're watching practice and that. Let us know who really stood out to you in practice and that. Also catching up on some texts here a little bit. Bold predictions for Packers training camp here. We've got Rashawn Gary. This is from Adam saying Rashawn Gary is going to have at least 15 sacks this year. All right, I like that one. We've got Jordan Love is going to throw for over 40 touchdown passes this year. We've got Greg saying Christian Watson is going to lead the team in receiving with over 1,000 yards. We've got Chris saying the Packers will have a top 5 defense and top 5 offense this year. We got another bold prediction here from Luke saying Anders Carlson will have a 90% make from all of his field goals. All right, see, now we're talking with the bold predictions. Keep those coming. That's what I'm talking about. Predictions like that, baby. That's why we call them bold predictions. Catching up on a couple more, but Brewers related posts here. We've got Jackson Cheerio. This is from Matt saying Jackson Cheerio has exceeded my expectations so far this year. I was willing to have the lower expectations considering he was a rookie and not having a ton of time at AAA and no experience in the big leagues. I was willing to live through the ups and downs of this season, but overall, he has definitely exceeded my expectations. Hasn't been a superstar by any means, but I think we're seeing a lot of positive stuff that has given us confidence that that contract is going to look like a bargain in the next couple of years. Another texter saying Jackson Churio has definitely exceeded my expectations. I was kind of hoping for at least around 250, and I know he's around that right now, but he just looks like a veteran at the plate with his approach and how he goes about things. We got another text here. This one is from excuse me, Jeff. Jeff saying about Jackson Cheerio. I think anybody who says that Jackson Cheerio hasn't at least hit expectations or exceeded their expectations just has a too high of a level of expectation. What he has done and considering his age and his experience, I think is pretty darn solid. The Brewers knew exactly what they were doing with him. I'm so glad they didn't start him off in AAA or send him back down. This team is so much fun to watch this year. I hope they make a move by the deadline and try to go for it this year. Go Pat Murphy. All right. Another one here too. This no name, can't give you any credit, but with the Jackson Cheerio question that we threw out there, saying Jackson Cheerio definitely exceeding my expectations so far this year. And what has me more excited is that he is just going to get better and better in the next few years. Brewers did it right with that contract. All right. Let's take a quick break here. Keep those texts coming, all right? What are your weekend hangovers? What are the highlights? What are the lowlights? What was the best? What was the worst? What stood out to you from the weekend? Hit me up, all right? Hit me up. Let us know so we can share for the rest of the class. I'll get to mine just past 8:00 here. So, but keep these good texts so far coming in. Got day one of camp coming up here. Been looking for some bold predictions here for the green and gold for the Packers as they open up training camp today. Also with the Brewers now coming into the quote-unquote second half of the season, sweeping the Twins over the weekend. Jackson Cheerio has been a big topic of conversation so far this morning for how well he has played. But obviously we're going to be paying attention to next Tuesday, from now until next Tuesday with that trade deadline over there. Let me ask you, Brewers fans, is there, if you've done any research, if you've been kind of going down the rumor mill and checking things out over there, is there a starting pitcher that you realistically, keyword is realistically, would like to see the Brewers make a play for? Of all the names that have been kind of floated out there, is there a starting pitcher that you realistically would like the Brewers to make a move for? And you believe, let me add this here, and you believe by adding him could put the Brewers in contention to go to the World Series. Is there that guy out there? Is there that pitcher that's out there that has been talked about as a potential trade target? So we're not talking about, well, they could acquire Corbin Burns and it would, no. We're talking real Paul Skeen, no. None of those guys. Guys that have been rumored out there. Do you think, or maybe the best way to put this out there is, do you think the Brewers are one starting pitcher away from competing for a World Series? Do you think they're just one starting pitcher away? That they've got enough pieces elsewhere? That they're good? Do you think they're one move away, essentially, from being a World Series contender? Or maybe you already think they are a World Series contender. What do you got? All right, I'm curious to know. Let's take a quick break. And we'll be back to finish up the second hour after these quick messages. Have you been to the VFW Post 305 lately? Well, hey, let me tell you, they've got some new and exciting things happening there. They got the new kitchen hours every day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., except Fridays, which are 7 a.m. to 1, and then back open again 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, breakfast served until noon. Daily specials, Wednesday nights and Saturdays, they've got live music. Plus, their patio has those new outdoor tables and chairs to go along with that beautiful view back there. So get on down to the VFW Post 305, located at 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. And I know our good friends, the Card Collecting Club, it's got their events coming up in September at the VFW Post 305. Shout out to Brian and the Card Collecting Club for all the wonderful stuff they're doing for the kiddos out there. So mark your calendars. It's the second annual sports cards kickoff for kids, Sunday, September 8th at the VFW Club 305, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. All right. We got about, 7 minutes to the top here. So we'll do some weekend hangover coming up just past 8 o'clock there. We also have, we're going to hear from, is it just past 9 o'clock? Yeah, I believe it's just past 9 o'clock. Brian Gutekunst, Packers general manager. So probably get it a little bit. He ain't going to tip his hand or anything like that, but got to admit, he's first question, or at least one of the first questions, is going to be status of the Jordan Love negotiation, status of where that contract is at. So again, maybe a little bit of insight there, but I think we can probably all imagine it's going to be typical general manager speak. But we do this game once in a while. All right, we do this game once in a while here. If you were in attendance, and Matt LaFleur is going to talk after him. But if you were in attendance and you were a media member and you could ask one question to Goody today to open up the season, this is you're opening up the season. You get one question at the beginning of this season to Goody or LaFleur. What would it be? What would that one question be? Is there something that is absolutely pressing that you would like answered? And let's operate under the assumption, because it's our game and we can do this because we can make the rules up and such. And you would get a truthful answer. Okay, you would get a 100% truthful answer in return. So yeah, I'll just throw out some examples. Was it, going back to the draft, how much of his draft picks, were they how much insight or input did he have from Jeff Hafley? I don't know. Just throwing out something out there if you wanna participate and such. Okay, so think about that for a little bit, and you can let me know. So, all right. Yeah, that's just after 9. Then you got LaFleur coming up afterwards. I'm kind of curious to know the Jaden Reed injury right now. Why he's starting off the season on the non-football injury list, which means he got. I would assume he got hurt, injured, dinged up, training on his own in that. Hopefully, it's not anything too serious. Hopefully it's nothing to be alarmed about. So I would have to imagine we're going to get some details today from Goody and LaFleur, and maybe it's just a little precautionary thing because it's so early in the season and that. But, I think we went through the storylines when it comes to training camp. We went through the top storylines that we're kind of following. We did this for the last couple weeks here. But, I mean, I'll tell you right now, the first things that I'm looking forward to in these first few practices is, and I know it's just shorts, okay? It's just shorts, and you can't really go over schemes or anything like that. How does Watson and Stokes look? I think that, to me, is I hope we get, because I can't go to practice, I can't watch it, but I hope we get some good insight to how Watson and Stokes look. Do they look maybe a little faster? Do they look like they're 100% ready to go? How do those two guys look? I mean, that's essentially what you can watch. Stuff like that is what you're going to watch for in practice. Or how are these guys looking? How are they running around? How are they moving? Jordan Love, the accuracy, right? I mean, that was a thing last year. Was maybe kind of one of the issues, one of the problems that he had to work on getting better was deep ball accuracy. You look at that stuff. You're not looking at play design. You're not looking at, you know, schemes or anything like that. How are these guys looking? Are they winning their one-on-ones? Are the receivers beating the corners? Is the defense making it difficult on the offense to move the ball? Is this new defense making it harder to is this new defense making it harder on the offense to move the ball in team periods and such? You know, there's different things. Gotta approach it a little bit differently when you kind of watch. You got to put on your own scouting cap. You got to put on your own general manager cap, if you will. So those are a few things like initially, right away that I'm kind of curious to kind of follow along and get a read at. So quick question. I might save this for yeah, I think I'll save this question. A little bit of a tease. We got a question from a listener here. This is from Andy. You know what? I'll save it for the little bit of a tease. I'll tell you what the question is coming up in the next hour here too. But interesting question, Andy. All right, I like it. I like it. So, okay, a couple more texts to get to here with Jackson Cheerio. C-Bomb says Cheerio exactly what I was hoping for in his rookie season. Hope was 250 with 20 homers, 253 and 10, right on pace. Signs of a superstar. Couple more texts here with Cheerio. Jackson Cheerio, I think, is right where I was expecting him to be at this season, says Gregory. But the way he is playing right now, he looks to be on track to exceeding my expectations. Another one. This one is from Mike. Mike is saying that Jackson is definitely exceeding his expectations so far. He was expecting, or I should say, if I read his text correctly, I was expecting him to hit around 224 the season and have a lot of ups and downs, a little bit more downs than ups here. Wasn't sure what to really expect from a power standpoint with him. So, from what I have seen thus far, he has exceeded my expectations. All right, keep those coming. We got the weekend hangover coming up next. Just got about 30 seconds here. Andy, I'll get to your question, Packer related question coming up in the next hour here too. So, last call for your weekend hangovers, the highs and the lows from the weekend and such. Hit me up with those texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line 715-830-1912. We'll get back to a little more Kenny Clark chat, a little bit more Brewers chat, looking ahead to game one of their 3-game series at Wrigley Field against the Cubbies here. Craig Counsell got a little testy over the weekend in an exchange with a reporter. Frustration starting to settle in for the Cubs down there? Probably. We'll talk some more Packers and Brewers coming up in the final hour after these news updates. Final hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning of July 22nd. Appreciate you making us a part of your starts for a brand new work week here. Shout out to all of you listening wherever, however you may be listening, whether it's online, sportstalk1051.com. You got your smart devices out there. You got your app, your Sports Talk app. Download it, take it on the go. Facebook and YouTube video streams up and rolling here this morning. Let's kick off this final hour with a little weekend hangover. Shall we? We've got James on the YouTube stream saying weekend hangover WNBA All-Stars beating Team USA. Felt like a true changing of the guard with these young stars. Brian saying celebrating weekend high, celebrating our 22nd wedding anniversary at Brewers Twins game on Saturday. Congratulations. I'm a Brewers fan and she is a Twins fan. Great game. Hey, you had some free baseball in that game on Saturday too with the extra innings. All right. Nice. Luckily they were able to get those games in too. I know a little delay for both of them there. Put a roof on it. Come on. All right. My weekend highs and weekend lows. My weekend highs too. I'm actually gonna go with James with the All-Star game with the WNBA All-Star game. So, James, you took that one for me. I'll still say it, but I'll add in Xander Schauffele's Open Championship win. So I'll throw that one in there. My low, I'm gonna go with USA men's basketball. They nearly lost to the South Sudan. All right, they nearly lost to them, and it was LeBron James made a layup with 8 seconds left to take the lead, and then luckily that they were able. South Sudan had a couple shots there at the end by the rim, not able to get the ball in there, but that would have been an ugly loss by Team USA if South Sudan would have been able to complete the victory. Steve Kerr said, "I did not do a great job preparing our team. I think we did not focus enough on what they're capable of, and that is on me." At one point, South Sudan got up by 16 points. And if they would have won, that would have been one of the biggest upsets ever seen in international basketball. So that definitely was a low. Even though they won, that was a little bit of a low. So that's my weekend hangover, my highs and the lows. If you want to still hit us up with yours, let us know. Okay? Hit me up. So I had a texter ask this question. Wanted to know my opinion on this. When it comes to the Packers, and by the way, we'll get to the Kenny Clark stuff. We had a couple of you throwing some Kenny Clark texts in here with his new contract and such. But we had a couple of you, or excuse me, had a question come in about Green Bay. I thought it was kind of an interesting question. So Andy threw out there. Mr. Andy, thank you for hitting us up with this question. Hope you don't mind that I make it kind of a one I'll throw back to everybody else out there too. But excuse me, Andy said, when are we putting too much pressure or setting it too high of an expectation for this Packers team heading into training camp and into the season, where we're setting ourselves up for failure like we did at the end of the Aaron Rodgers era? I don't think so. And I appreciate the question. I feel like, so first of all, going back to the Rodgers era, if you want, I feel like, and I've said this before, that as long as Aaron Rodgers was your starting quarterback, the expectation should be Super Bowl every single year. I don't care. If you have that quarterback and you're paying that quarterback, the expectation every single season at the beginning should be Super Bowl. That should be the goal. And I don't think we're setting high expectations. I mean, I understand to a degree why maybe there is that thought that we're setting super high expectations and maybe setting ourselves up for disappointment. And maybe it's because I don't know if this is where you were kind of thinking like, are we setting super high expectations for one Jordan Love based off of a second half from what we saw last year? Are we kind of setting really high expectations and maybe setting us up for disappointment if he kind of comes down to earth, or maybe that wasn't the real version? I don't know if that's kind of what you're thinking, but I still don't think we're setting extreme expectations or too high of expectations because we have to go based off of what we saw last year, and especially at the end of last year, right? We have to. That was kind of the new standard set. But the play we saw from Love, the play that we saw from the offense, some of those young guys taking a step, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Musgrave, Kraft. Now you bring in Jacobs and such. The standard is now set. We saw this offense. We saw Jordan Love, those guys play at an incredibly high level last year towards the end of this season into the playoffs. That a high standard has now been set to repeat that, take it up another level. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having high expectations because that essentially means, I mean, you for the most part, you feel like you have a team that could hit those expectations, that could hit those high goals of winning a bunch of games and hopefully winning a championship. Now, are we setting super high expectations on the defensive side for Green Bay? I think there may be a case to be made there because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen Jeff Hafley. I mean, we're basing our excitement and our enthusiasm off of words right now. We hear positive stuff from the players. You know, we love everything that has come out of Jeff Hafley's mouth so far and how he wants to do his defense and his goals and his and how he wants to run it. We're feeding off that. We're getting excited and we're getting pumped up and we're getting sold on what this new defense is supposed to do, what it's supposed to look like, and all that. So we're buying in. We're buying into what they're selling us right now. Now, is it going to live up to those expectations? Is it going to live up to that standard that we are now setting for the defense? Like, okay, you go out there and you sign Xavier McKinney. You got Jair. You got Kenny Clark now to a new deal. Rashawn Gary's got a big deal. You got a lot of money invested in this defense. And now you got a new defensive coordinator. So, again, I feel like that bar should be high because of the amount that they've invested, both in money but also in free agents. It has to be set high. It has to work. But I would understand if that's what you're referring to, like, okay, are we setting it up a little high because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the new defensive coordinator in action. We haven't seen this new defense in action. Are we setting it up for a little disappointment? I understand it. I feel like there has to be that standard though. And maybe I'm being a little too hard on it, but and maybe there might be a little bit of growing pains, a little up and down in the first quarter of the season, first couple games and such, when we actually get on the field and those guys are, playing to the game plan and such. Possibly. But if you as a team have a goal, a championship goal, a Super Bowl championship goal, you have to set that bar high. You have to set that bar high. And I think it's okay if you're a Packers fan this year, to head into the season with higher expectations. Last year, I didn't really have any expectations. I'll admit it. And I've said it before. I didn't really have expectations for that team. I thought they could be a potential playoff team. I think I picked them to be the 7th seed. But I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect from Jordan Love. I didn't know what to expect from the rookie tight ends right away, because historically rookie tight ends don't put up big numbers. I didn't know what to expect from Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and some of those guys. I really didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. This year it's a little bit different because we've seen the quote unquote new offense. We saw this team get to the postseason. We saw this team win a postseason game and nearly win another one to get to the championship game. So yeah, just naturally that bar is set higher. I mean, maybe I'm in the minority in this, but I don't feel like we're setting the bar too high to be maybe put in a position that we're a little disappointed this year for Green Bay. I don't. I can understand in some aspects where some people may think that, but I don't. I don't. I think based off of what we saw last year, offensively, that's the standard. Going to the postseason, winning a postseason game, winning some postseason games, that's the standard going forward now. Just that, and especially when Love gets that new contract, because it's going to happen, and it's going to happen probably pretty soon here. Standard's going to be a little bit higher. Still going to remain high. It was as soon as you pay that quarterback a ton of money and give him that big contract, standard's always going to be high. Talked about in the first hour here the Kenny Clark extension, 3 years, $64 million. Kenny Clark, when you do it on an average per year sort of thing, it makes him the 12th highest paid defensive tackle. Is based off the average annual approximate value. 12th highest paid defensive tackle. To me, I feel like, and this may be a bold prediction, but I feel like this is a deal that it is going to look like a bargain. Eventually, it's going to look like a bargain. I think, and again, there's more to contracts. We know this. There's more to contracts than just the average per year. But when you say he's the 12th highest paid defensive tackle in terms of average annual value, I think we're going to look at that as a bargain. I think Kenny Clark is one of those guys that is going to benefit greatly from this style of defense. Again, we're buying what we're being sold right now. I'm buying what we're being sold here. But when we hear their new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, talk about it, he wants his defensive linemen to be aggressive. He wants them to get after the quarterback. He wants them to pressure, all that stuff. I think that is going to kind of vault Kenny Clark into another category. Kenny Clark, to me, has been a defensive tackle that has been underappreciated across the league because he's been asked to do things that really it doesn't show up in the stat sheet. And I know we like Justice said earlier, we pay attention a lot to the sacks category. And last year he set career highs in sacks, 7.5. But you had Aaron Donald wreaking havoc for all those years on the defensive line. You got Chris Jones over there with Kansas City and such. But I feel like the role that Kenny Clark was asked to assume for a majority part of his career really didn't showcase a lot of his skill set. And I think this year now, being in that 4-3, I think he's set up to succeed. But I also think what's going to help him succeed is got to be the guys around him. It's got to be Devontae Wyatt heading into his third year. Devontae Wyatt has to take that jump this year. He has got to take that jump this year. Devontae Wyatt, because initially, let's be realistic here. Once we open up the season, there's going to be more attention paid from the interior defensive line standpoint. If we take a look at if it's just a base 4-3, you got Rashawn Gary, you've got Kenny Clark, you got Devontae Wyatt, Preston Smith / Lucas Van Ness, whatever. From an interior standpoint, opposing teams are going to pay more attention to Kenny Clark. I think that's a fair conclusion. They're going to pay more attention to Kenny Clark. So there's going to be opportunities for Devontae Wyatt. If Devontae Wyatt takes advantage of those opportunities and then he starts wreaking havoc, well, then you can't double. You can't really primarily focus on Kenny Clark. That's going to help Kenny Clark. Rashawn Gary being aggressive on the outside and having success, that's going to help out Kenny Clark. So I feel like Kenny Clark's going to have a solid year. I think he's going to have a really good year, but it's also determined based off of the new defense, but it's also going to be determined on how well the other guys around him perform on that defensive line too. If they play well, they hit their marks, they hit their standards, that's going to benefit Kenny Clark too. All right, Brewers in action tonight to begin a 3-game series against the Chicago Cubs. Right now, Brewers holding on to a 5-game lead for first place in the division. Taking this 2-game sweep by the Twins over the weekend. Brewers up by 5 over the pesky Cardinals. Pittsburgh now 7 back. Cubs 10 back. And the Reds sitting there at 10.5 games back. We'll take a look at tonight's game. We got Tobias Myers on the mound going for the Brewers. We'll preview that game coming up here. But first, we got to take a quick break. Then back to more baseball talk. Jackson Cheerio, kind of the question of the day. Has he hit, exceeded, not exceeded your expectations? You looking for maybe your new forever home or maybe a piece of land to do a little hunting or to build a camper, just to put a camper up over there, your little getaway, your little oasis and such. Check out woodsandwater.com. That's Woods and Water Realty, your real estate store, to check out all the listings over there. And if you're looking for that new home, maybe it's your first home, maybe it's your new forever home, or maybe you're looking to sell your home and such. Hey, Woods and Water Realty, the entire team at Woods and Water Realty, they will help you find your new oasis, your new home. They're awesome to work with, whether it's Bruce or Kristen over there. Just fantastic people to work with. My wife and I have used them for buying and selling our homes and such. So, but if you're looking maybe for hunting season, hey, I want my own piece that I can go do a little hunting at or such. Check out all the listings at woodsandwater.com. That's woodsandwater.com. And maybe you want a little piece right next to the lake so you can get away from the hustle and bustle of the everyday life. And they got some stuff up there available too to check out. So woodsandwater.com. Go check it out. All right, let's talk a little Brewers and Cubs as game one of this 3-game series begins tonight. You can check it out at the radio dials 105.1 FM and 790 AM. 7:05 first pitch as the Brewers will travel to Chicago. Tobias Myers is going to get the start for the Brewers tonight. Tobias 6-3 with a 3.13 ERA. His last game that we saw him pitch was back on the 10th against Pittsburgh, where he went 8 innings, 4 hits, 6 strikeouts over there. So well rested up and ready to go here. Tobias Myers, we've been talking about Jackson Churio quite a bit this morning and hitting expectations and the season that he's been having and such. Tobias Myers, man, you want to talk about a guy, a rookie this year too, who has just maybe really exceeded expectations because we didn't know who the heck he was for the most part, didn't know a whole lot about him. I mean, I feel like Tobias Myers is going to be one of those guys, and there's a lot of key players for this stretch run. I mean, we did that last week. Your top 5, key players to help the Brewers get back to the postseason, to hold on and to win this division, maybe even make a run into the postseason here. But Tobias Myers, I think, is one of those guys, especially when we look at the starting rotation here, who could be such a pivotal piece to this rotation. We all know that the biggest weakness for this Brewers team is starting pitching in terms of depth, right? I mean, if there's a wish list out there, we poll it. A lot of Brewers fans want this team to acquire another starter. They want another starting pitcher on here. Whether it's for performance related or, health wise, probably a little bit of both there. But Tobias Myers, to me, could be one of those, I don't know if I want to say role players because I feel like it almost diminishes it a bit, but one of those pivotal players that could really help solidify this lineup, but also, I mean, just be a stable into that rotation. Just be a stable force in there. I mean, the season that he has been having has been, I mean, his month of June was fantastic. I mean, we've talked about that plenty. But I mean, his month of June was awesome, and I think really solidified his stance in that rotation, going 4-0 with a 1.44 ERA. And so far, just a couple starts in the month of July here, and it's been one really good one, one meh good one. That Colorado July 4th game where he gave up 4 earned runs, bounced back, and going up against Pittsburgh with that 8-inning shutout performance. So Tobias Myers, I think, could be kind of an interesting player to watch in these next, couple months, these last couple months here. Because if he could go out there and continue to do what he has been doing for the most part of this season, or at least, in the month of June and such, but continuing to build upon what we've seen from him lately and being a nice stable in that starting rotation. I mean, that's a big boost. And I think part of it too is you look at this starting rotation for the Brewers, there's names on there like who? Huh? Like for a lot of people, maybe especially outside of Brewers fandom out there, when you look at that starting rotation, you're like, okay, That shouldn't be a rotation for a first place team. You're supposed to have, all these high priced free agent or high priced starting pitchers over there. And you look at it for the Brewers, it's Freddie Peralta, it's Colin Ray, it's Tobias Myers, it's Aaron Savale, and then kind of a combination of like Bryce Wilson and Jared Koenig and maybe Ross when he comes back up. It's a rotation that's not supposed to be good based off of paper. It's not supposed to be, a rotation for a first place team. But you got Colin Ray out there who's having himself a career season. Tobias Myers having a fantastic, rookie season out there too. And this is all with their ace, Freddie Peralta, that I think we're all kind of wanting to see a little bit more. Now, that game against the Twinnies, no decision, but 6 innings, 2-hit ball, no earned runs, 8 strikeouts. Think you'd take a line from Freddie Peralta like that almost any day of the week. But I think Tobias Myers is going to be one of those guys that's going to be really, really interesting to watch in these final 2 months. Because if he can go out there and he can continue to pitch like we've seen him in the last month and a half overall, that changes things with this starting rotation and maybe gives you a little bit more confidence within this starting rotation too. Yeah, he's a youngster. Yeah, he doesn't have a ton of experience, especially when he gets to the postseason, maybe a little nervous. But right now, talent-wise, he's pitching at a high level. He's pitching at a high level. So I just hope we can continue to see it from Tobias Myers here. And when you look at the matchups and such, I mean, you got a couple at bats with this Cubs lineup. It looks like couple games worth between some of these guys. So I mean, you're not really seeing a whole lot. I mean, Bush has gotten 5 at bats and 3 RBIs and a home run against him. Dansby Swanson's 1 for 4 against him. So I mean, really nothing to take home and get a really good, scouting report over there too. So, but man, again, this team has been full of a lot of nice surprises this year, and Tobias Myers is definitely at the top of the list over there. Easily at the top of the list there. This is going to be a big week, though, for a lot of these teams with the trade deadline coming up next Tuesday. With the trade deadline coming up next Tuesday, you still got a lot of teams, especially in the National League, that are in the hunt for a wild card spots. So they may not be right now on this Monday morning ready to be sellers, but things could change with the beginning of the week with their new series or by the weekend here. A lot of things could change. MLB.com has got top available deadline options at every position. Now, I don't think we're really looking for a bat. Maybe like a little bit more depth at the hot corner, maybe a little bit more power or such over there. Potentially some guy that you can add over there, somebody to, maybe replace like an Andrew Monasterio or such. But, maybe you're looking for a little bit more depth there. You got Tyler Black, maybe you can bring back up for that option. But we're really focused on starting pitching and such. And right now, I mean, their pick, right-handed starting pitcher, Jack Flaherty, buzz factor, they say, is high right now. Garrett Crochet for a left-hander coming out of the White Sox. I mean, I feel like he has been mentioned since the beginning of the season. I don't think the Brewers are going to come away with, if those are the top 2 options on the market or 2 of the top options on the market, there's part of me that doesn't feel like the Brewers are going to get one of those guys. Now, if they did, I think we'd all be ecstatic. I think we'd all be pumped. I guess I don't see it right now. But a question I want to float out to you, and I'll probably throw this question out up until the trade deadline. Do you think the Brewers are essentially one move away from maybe being a World Series contending team? Like going to the World Series, like taking down the Dodgers, taking down the Phillies to go to the World Series? Do you think they're just one move away? And is that one move another starter? if they add a starter, do you think they've got the team to not only just get to the postseason, but get to the World Series? Are they that close? Now, I know it's kind of a projection pick. It's, a lot of factors can be involved in this, and how many times have we seen it when it's come to the postseason in baseball? It's a hot team that makes that run. It's a team that's got a lot of momentum entering the postseason. Saw it with the Diamondbacks last year. We've seen it with the Phillies. I mean, the list goes on and on. We've seen that before, and I understand that. But when we look at this team from what we've seen so far with this ball club, if you had to make a prediction, do you think they're just one player, one trade away from being a team that can go to the World Series? Are they one starting pitcher away from that? Assuming everybody stays healthy. I mean, you got that factor that you got to throw in there every single time for any sport. Obviously, factor or health is a big determinant for everybody. I think offensively they're there. I think bullpen, they're going to be in decent shape. I mean, with a lot of guys coming back health-wise, you're going to have options coming out of the bullpen. Boy, one move away. That's a tough one. If they add one more starter, are they? If Tobias Myers continues to pitch the way he does, Colin Ray continues to be a nice, stable presence in that rotation. If Freddie Peralta takes just a step, and then you add in another starter, maybe. So maybe the other question is, do you feel better? I can't believe I'm kind of saying this, but do you feel better about the prospects of this Brewers team than maybe any other Brewers team in the last couple of years? I mean, the last couple of years has been a different type of team, right? It's been led by pitching. You had Corbin, you had Woody. I mean, you had a healthy Devin Williams, the back end of the bullpen. It was led by pitching. This year, it's offense and a little bit of bullpen because their bullpen numbers are still ranked as towards the top in major leagues, but it's been a lot of the offensive stuff. I know we got a lot of baseball left here, but at this point in time, the last couple of years when we've led up to the trade deadline, it's like, please just add us a couple of bats. We don't need a bat. We need 2 bats. Give us a couple more bats, guys. And didn't really get them. 18 he did with Moustakas and such, but last couple of years. Do you feel better about the position of this team, the way this team is playing, maybe compared to the other? What do you think? I mean, I'm not going to lie. When, paying attention, watching these games against the Twins, and the Brewers were in a little back and forth, and then they're down and all that. Part of my mind, again, went to, man, if this was like the last couple years, once they were down 3-1 yesterday, was it? Like, maybe like last year and the year before, are they do they have enough to try to come back and tie it? You hate to say that 3-1, but I don't think I was the only one who kind of thought that last year and the year before. It's like, 3-1 with this offense, that might be too insurmountable. This year, I don't have those feelings. I don't have those thoughts. It's like 3-1. All right, they can do that. They've shown to do that more times than not this year. It's just a different feel. It's a different vibe. And if you add in another pitcher, I mean, man, it's hard not to get caught up in the love affair for this team right now. I'm loving it. I love following and watching this team and just the never give up type of mentality that they got right now. So, all right, let's take a quick break. Then we got to wrap things up. We've got some picks and predicts coming at you. We'll pick this Brewers game tonight against the Cubbies and some other games over there too. So we'll do our picks and predicts. We'll start to wrap up things. We got Goody's going to be talking, I believe, shortly after we shut the mics off here. So may want to pay attention and follow online on there if there's anything out there that, I mean, He's gonna be asked about Jordan Love's contract, so unless something gets done in the next 15, 20, 25 minutes here, he ain't gonna tip his hand or anything like that, but we'll see. We'll see. LaFleur will talk after that too. So, but let's wrap things up. We'll take our first break. And then we'll do some picks and predicts. All that good stuff. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Wrapping things up here on this Monday morning with some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room, located right next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. Reminder, Wednesday night trivia nights over there. But if you just want to hang out and have a nice beverage and talk some sports, maybe with Garrett, and check out his collection of sports items, sports memorabilia up on the walls, head on over to the Elbow Room. And good company over there, good folks over there. Hang out, watch some of the ball games and such. Good times over at the Elbow Room. Let's do some picks and predicts here. So we've got, let's start off with the Cardinals taking on the Pirates. Cardinals taking on the Pirates. Mitch Keller's on the mound for Pittsburgh and such. So, give me the Pirates. Need the Pirates to take a couple at least from the Cardinals and such. So, give me the Pirates. Let's go with the Phillies at Minnesota. So Minnesota coming off of 2 losses to the Brewers, and their reward is they welcome the Philadelphia Phillies over here. So give me the Phillies for tonight's game. Arizona at Kansas City might be kind of a sneaky good matchup there. Give me Kansas City tonight. Let's go with the Giants at the Dodgers. Blake Snell is on the mound for the Giants. Give me the Dodgers still. Sounds like we're going to get Clayton Kershaw this week too. And then let's do Brewers at Cubbies. Give me the Brewers with Tobias on the mound. I've got some confidence in Tobias Meyer, so go give me the Brewer crew to pick up the win tonight. So that's your picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. All right, so in about 15-ish minutes, we're going to hear from I think it's still 9:05 around there. Brian Gutekunst, Packers general manager, as they open up training camp today. After him is going to be Matt LaFleur. We've got practice at 10:30 today. So if you are on the social media, especially on Twitter/X, get ready for a bunch of overreactions from Jordan Love, maybe missing a throw or hitting a long touchdown bomb or a pick or something like that. Get ready for overreaction season to a bunch of practices and guys in shorts and such. But here it is, football season, pretty much here now with training camp opening up and such. So obviously the Packers making a splash before opening up camp by extending Kenny Clark to a 3-year extension, $64 million. So they lock up their defensive lineman that they've had for a while now. But he's still 28, 29 years old. Still got a few years left of some good football over there. So, but now obviously the big one out there is when is Jordan Love going to get his new contract? When is he going to get his new contract out there? Everybody's that's the next one on the docket. And you can bet Goody's going to get asked about that. I would expect probably just typical general manager speak from Goody at that point. I would expect that he's just going to, unless something breaks here in a little bit, working on it. We want to get it done, blah, 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 blah. I know they had both sides said they would have liked to have gotten it done before training camp, started and such. I honestly feel like it's going to be done sooner rather than later. For sure done by the start of the season before they play the Philadelphia Eagles on that Friday night game. It's going to get done at some point. It's, maybe they didn't get that soft deadline, if that's what we want to call it. They didn't get that before training camp opens, but it'll get done. You got Kenny Clark done. Easily Jordan Love is the next one now. Focus on that. Get that one done. So, but a lot of you kind of chiming in here. We had a little fun with some bold predictions to open up the season or for training camp and such. So we had a lot of you chiming in, a lot of different ones out there. Big thanks to everybody who sent those on in. I mean, we had some Christian Watson ones going over 1,000 yards. We didn't really have any for Josh Jacobs, though. Not a lot of people throwing out a bold prediction for Josh Jacobs. So, but a lot of predictions about Jordan Love. We had a couple saying throwing for over 40 tutties, for 40 touchdowns this year. I had some saying Packers defense going to be a top 5 unit this year. So kind of all over the board, which is to be expected. That's what bold predictions are about, right? So, but big thanks for all of you sending those on over there too. So, talked plenty of Brewers baseball here now that we are back from the All-Star break. Crew taking 2 away from the Twins. They are now still 5 up in the division over the Cardinals. They got that Cub series starting tonight on the road. Tobias Myers is going to be on the mound for the Crew. The Express, by the way, are on their All-Star break, so they're going to be back at it coming up on the 25th. They'll be back at Carson Park taking on Thunder Bay. Right now, it's a tight race when you look at the Express's division for the Northwoods League. The Express right now are just 3 games back from first place. So, I mean, you got some games as soon as they're back from the All-Star break. A few games in a row here at Carson Park. So, hopefully, take advantage of their home stretch here. Yeah, 25th. Well, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games in a row at Carson Park. And when we look at the standings here too in the division, right now the Express are looking up at Thunder Bay, Duluth, Waterloo. I mean, the Express are just 3 back at Thunder Bay. I mean, you want to make up the quickest amount of ground, you got to play the teams that are. And right now, the Express on their schedule, they've got that. And it's going to be at Carson Park too. So, but get on over to Carson Park, take advantage of some of these home games coming up here, end of July, early August. Let's see if we can get this team back to the playoffs, clinching a second half championship, and getting back to the playoffs there too. So, but All-Star break here for a few days. Got some festivities, home run derby and all that, but we'll be back at it for regular season games coming up on Thursday. Cleveland.com did a Big Ten preseason poll. Reminder, Big Ten doesn't do these. Okay, they don't do them. It's preseason polls and such. Not a lot of love for Wisconsin. And remember, it's an expansion. They're adding more teams this year. But number 7. And I guess when you factor in it's going to be weird. It's going to take some time, at least for me. But there's 18 teams in this thing now. So maybe 7 out of 18 isn't that bad when you put it in that perspective. But Ohio State got the most number 1 votes. They had 21 first-place votes. Oregon got 6 first-place votes, so they're number 2. Penn State 3, Michigan 4, Iowa 5, USC 6, and then Wisconsin at 7. Rounded out with Nebraska at 8, Rutgers at 9, Washington 10, Maryland 11, Minnesota 12, Illinois 13, Northwestern 14, UCLA 15, Michigan State 16, Indiana 17, and Purdue wrapping it up at number 18. So we'll talk some more Badgers with RJ Cardinal tomorrow. We know how much he loves preseason polls over there, but we talk about expectations for the Packers and the excitement surrounding this Packers team this year, offensively, defensively, high goals and all that. I'm going to give you a little bit of a homework assignment. What are some of your expectations, goals? Where's your excitement level for Badger football? I mean, last year it was at an all-time high. You have Luke Fickell coming in, new head coach, a lot of people pumped, excited. You're a little down, Jimmy Laird to get the job, but you're really excited about Luke Fickell. And the season wasn't that great. Could have been worse. But I'm curious, Badger football fans, where's your level of enthusiasm surrounding this team this year? Knowing that, hey, we got some new teams coming in with Oregon, with USC, Washington, UCLA. And maybe where's your excitement level when it comes to the conference overall now in football when you're adding these teams, when we've got these new teams in it? I think honestly it's gonna take me a while to get adjusted to it. It's gonna take a little bit. It's gonna be like when I still call the Chargers the San Diego Chargers. And it's just not gonna feel right calling West Coast teams Big Ten teams, but it is what it is at this point. But with year 2, with Luke Fickell, with the Luke Fickell era, where are you at? Think about that for a little bit, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, especially when we have RJ Cardinal on tomorrow, our Badger analyst. So, also coming up tomorrow, we'll catch up with the Express on All-Star break with our Express chat just after 8 o'clock. It is also a Grind My Gears Tuesday. So think about what's grinding your gears or what has been grinding your gears lately. Okay. Think about that, and then make sure you send those puppies on over for us tomorrow. So we'll get to that. Obviously, we'll recap day 1 of training camp over there. So if we got anybody that's listening, that's over at practice and such, hit us up with your texts on what you're seeing or anything that kind of popped out or anything like that. All right. So hit us up on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line there. But we'll recap day 1 of training camp practice. Obviously, we'll talk some Brewers and Cubs. Hopefully, Tobias Myers can pick up his 7th win of the season tonight and pick up another win against the Cubbies and just keep pushing them a little bit further down in the standings, right? Keep pushing them down there a little bit. It's always good to beat the Cubs, especially right now. It seems like maybe there's some frustration. Council the other day, a little frustration with a question from a media member. I think it's starting to boil over a little bit. Definitely a disappointing season so far. You want to talk about a team that hasn't played up to their level of it, their standard or their expectations. It's probably easily the Cubs so far this year too. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut me off in like 10 seconds here. DP and Danets, they're up next. Think about that, Badger football fans. Where's your level of enthusiasm for this upcoming season? Where is it at? All right, it feels like it's kind of been quiet, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the closer we get to college football season, maybe it'll kick up into gear here a little bit too. Have yourself a good rest of your Monday. We'll do this again tomorrow morning. Big thanks for tuning in and chiming in and all that good stuff. We'll talk to you again tomorrow morning just past 6. See you then.